Welcome to Live Well, Dream Big. I'm Suzanne Monroe, founder of the International Association of Wellness Professionals, where I've been teaching people how to live a life of wellness, tap into their passion, and go for their dreams for over 15 years. I believe living well and dreaming big starts with ourselves. This podcast will show you how to create a healthy, holistic life, empower your mindset, follow your dreams, and make a big impact. Let's dive in right now. Welcome to Live Well, Dream Big. I'm excited for today's episode. Today's episode is a special type of episode, a read aloud, where I'm going to be reading aloud from my book, Live Well, Dream Big, the ultimate guide to becoming your best self and living life on your own terms. And I'm going to be sharing with you some actionable tips and tools as we go along. And really, I want to help you to avoid one of the biggest problems that I see people experiencing today: burnout. Burnout is on the rise. People are more stressed than ever. They're experiencing overwhelm and anxiety, and all of this is mounting and leading to burnout. Now, if you've heard my personal story before, then you know I'm speaking from personal experience here. So we're going to be diving into Wellness 360, which is included in this book, and we're going to be looking at the specific elements that make up Wellness 360 and applying it to burnout, so you can get on with living your best life, feeling more energized, and living well and dreaming big. So join me right now. Hey everyone, Suzanne Monroe here. I'm excited to be reading aloud from my book, Live Well, Dream Big, the ultimate guide to becoming your best self and living life on your own terms. And I'm going to dive into specific sections in the book, literally read from the pages, read aloud, and hopefully have a conversation with you about how these tips can support you to overcoming your own burnout, to getting out of the stress that might be taking over your life and health, and help you to get on the path to really reclaiming your life. Today, we're focusing on the Wellness 360 element of body. And by now, you may already know what Wellness 360 is, but if not, you can also get your own copy of this guidebook for free at iawpwellnesscoach.com/guide, where you'll be able to learn all about Wellness 360, get the Wellness 360 roadmap, and some other tools to help you on your journey right away. But today, I'm looking specifically at the element of body. So we're going to dive in. And it's one of the 12 elements that make up Wellness 360. And what I want to do is walk you through an overview of the 3 layers that make up this element. Every one of the 12 elements in Wellness 360 have 3 layers, and they all mean something different and interconnect with the other elements. But today we're going to look specifically at the element of body, and I want to share with you some tips, or what I call burnout busters, to really help you to get out of burnout and hopefully avoid burnout and just stay on the path to living well and dreaming big. Okay, so let's dive in. So first of all, talking about the body is really important when it comes to wellness for a lot of reasons. The most obvious reason is that our body is really a vessel that houses all of our organs. And it's a great starting point for discussing wellness since it represents our physical health, right? Your body is often the first thing that comes to mind when you think of wellness, right? We tend to think of how we look, our physical appearance, and oftentimes it can be the thing that really gets us started on a path to changing our health in our life. Our bodies are frequently the parts of us that encourage us to begin our own physical wellness journeys. Now, this could be due to just how us not liking how we look, but it can also be due to pain or illness in the body, something that kind of wakes us up. It also could just be simply that we want to look or feel different. We want our body to look or feel different. So that's a little bit about kind of an overview with body. But on the external layer, the element of body simply does represent our physical body, right? That's the external when we think of body. And that said, it includes other aspects of the body that might not seem immediately obvious, including your physical appearance, body type, body image, how your body actually feels physically, body movement, and body mechanics, right? Which includes a whole bunch of things like posture and other areas. Now that's the external layer. When we go to the internal layer, we take it kind of one level in. So we go internal, and with body, it's really all about tuning in to what's happening on the inside of the body. And this really includes aspects of how we treat our bodies, including how you feel about your body, the things you're saying to your body. Yes, we're all talking to our body every day, even though we may not realize it. And how in tune you are with your body's own internal processes. For example, do you notice different aches and pains? Do you notice maybe how your digestion is doing? And then there's the symbolic layer, my favorite layer. For body, this represents alignment. And our body often shows symptoms related to really being out of alignment in some way. So, for example, and when I say alignment, I'm not just talking about kind of our posture or alignment as we think about it when we think of our physical body, though it's a part of it, but I'm also talking about our alignment with our life. And so, for example, a person could have lower back pain if they're experiencing stress about their finances or their relationships or careers. I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but if you're worried, for example, about your job or money, you could often start to have back pain or aches in your body. I've had this happen to me before where I've had lower back pain, and it wasn't because I wasn't being active or wasn't doing certain things. It was literally something going on more mentally and emotionally, right? There's this stress that we can take on, and we'll hold it in the body in certain areas. So when you think about this symbolic layer for yourself, consider if there are any sort of unexplained physical manifestations that might be related to being out of alignment with your life in a sense. And consider what is happening on the outside, and that can actually give you clues to what's happening on the inside of your body. So we want to start to make these connections, right? Because otherwise, we try to solve problems and we don't really have the whole picture or really the holistic picture. And that's what Wellness 360 is about, having this holistic picture. So that gives you a little bit of the overview of body in the book. And there's a lot more here, but I'm going to go into some of the burnout buster tips that are really here to help you balance this element of body. The first one is to do a daily body scan. Take some time to close your eyes, relax, and really pay attention to each area of your body. I mean, how often do we actually take that pause? That pause of just kind of seeing where we are. And we can actually start at the top of our head and work our way all the way down to our toes. And this doesn't have to be something that takes 30 minutes, even, right? It can be a few minutes, even 5 minutes or less. But it can allow us to really tune into this internal layer or even symbolic layer of our body, or the physical layer as well. It can allow us to kind of just be more listening and noticing. Otherwise, we're so busy, we're on the go, that we tend to ignore symptoms or we tend to ignore what's going on. So doing a daily body scan is really a powerful first tip to see where you are. And then to check within. So spend a few minutes and have a mindful moment with your body. How do you actually feel about your body today? Right? You might do it in the morning, or you might do it at the end of the day and say, okay, how did I feel about my body today? Were there times where I was actually kind of beating myself up about it when I walked by myself in the mirror? Did I ignore my body? Is there any negative self-talk that's been coming through lately? So checking within. The third tip I want to share with you is simply body movement. Now, this is exercise, but it's a little bit different than thinking about exercise in the normal traditional sense of, fitness, right? Got to go out and get my cardio, or I got to lift my weights. That's awesome if that's what you love to do, to move your body. But I also want to speak to those of you out there who are like, oh my gosh, I don't love like hardcore fitness, or I kind of avoid it. I'm not a marathon runner, or I'm not a weightlifter. Whatever it is, we all can enjoy body movement from where we are. And it's really about mindful movement. Okay. So mindful movement is really kind of tuning again into the body and seeing what wants to move, what feels right. It might be simply that you want to do some stretches. It might be that you want to go for a little walk outside, right? And maybe you love doing really active things. That's great. But sometimes people who love being really active, if they're not going to go out and do the 5K, then they're doing nothing, right? So that's another way to check in as well. We can move our bodies every day mindfully, and it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. So do what you can every day to move your body in some way, even if it's just a short amount of time. Now, the fourth tip I want to share with you to help support you in getting in touch with your body and really ending burnout is to honor your body. Okay. This is about creating intentional practices that are kind and gentle toward your body and doing them every day. And you might say, well, what does this really have to do with burnout? Well, again, burnout is really when we become so exhausted, so overwhelmed, and stress that's just kind of been mounting and mounting and mounting. And we don't have practices in place that are supporting us on a daily basis to kind of reduce that stress. Now, if you've heard me talk about burnout before, then you know that just doing practices isn't going to end your stress, right? But they can support you as you begin to get to the bottom of what's causing your stress. So they are important. And it might be as simple as taking a bath, right? That could be a practice that you like to do. Again, it might be doing a short yoga practice, something where you're doing a couple of poses every morning as you get out of bed. That's something I like to do no matter what. It's kind of one of my non-negotiables. I love to do a longer yoga practice if I can, but no matter what, I'm doing 5 to 10 minutes of yoga every morning, right? Because if I don't, I start to feel aches and pains in my body and I just don't feel totally in alignment. I start to feel kind of not that great. So I do it because I have to, but because it makes me feel my very best. So what are the intentional practices that you want to bring in for your body? It might be dancing. It might just be, moving around or dancing with your kids or whatever it is. But it's about honoring you and about honoring that space to take the time to do it. So those are some tips for balancing the body right away and beginning to get on the path to avoiding burnout. And then the final one I want to share with you, which is true of all of the elements, is to kind of step back from the element and do a wellness 360 check. Okay, so we kind of just did a deep dive where we looked at the element and everything that makes it up, all the different layers. And now we want to take more of a bird's eye view and do a wellness 360 check and take an overview and consider the other elements that might be at play. And if you have the guidebook, or if you're in one of our programs like Reclaiming You, where you're really focusing on burnout, you have your Wellness 360 roadmaps and tools, but you'll want to take a look at the Wellness 360 wheel, as you can see it here, right? And realize that we don't just focus on each element by itself. All of these are interconnected. In fact, every layer of every element is interconnected to the other elements. Now, that might sound complex, but it's really not. Because what we do is we start to consider, and this is different for everybody, what's coming through for each element. So let's say body is out of balance for you. What other elements might be affecting it? If we just look at body and try to do some of the tips that we talked about today, if all the other elements are out of balance, most likely they're going to still impact the element of body. So we want to do this Wellness 360 check. And that's what Wellness 360 is about, making this interconnection. And that's truly a holistic approach. And that's truly how we can create transformation. So when it comes to the body, perhaps your career is out of balance, right? And it's causing you a lot of stress and it's showing up in your body. Or maybe you sit at your desk all day for work and you have to be in front of your computer all day and that's affecting your body, right? And so you start to look at, okay, what little shifts can be made? Food is another element that might be affecting your body, right? If you're not eating foods that give you energy and help you to avoid burnout, things that really nourish you, you're going to start to feel signs and symptoms in your body. So I love the element of body because it's truly a mirror for so many of the other elements. It seems like it acts by itself, but everything that's happening in the body is actually probably happening in another element. So that's one of the cool things about it. You can see I geek out on Wellness 360 and I get pretty excited about this. So consider that interconnection for yourself. There's some tools in the guidebook to help you do that. But that's where we are when it comes to body. And I hope some of the things that we talked about today are helpful for you. I also want to share with you, there's a lot of great stories in this book of people who have gone on the Wellness 360 journey. And in the element of body is Kelly Williams, who's focusing on the body beyond exercise. And Kelly has a very interesting journey that I think you're going to love hearing a little bit about. But he was somebody who was very into fitness. He went into exercise physiology and personal training. He's done a lot of competitions. He's an Ironman. And so he had kind of this very particular perspective about the body and what it meant to be physically active and healthy. But he got a couple of scares along the way. First, from his family history with different family members getting diagnosed with different conditions, heart conditions, I believe. And then he had some things happen to his own body. And what happened on this journey is that really awakened him to how the body is so much more than just going out and what we do to it physically. and really understanding these 3 layers and the transformations that came about from that for him. I love his story. I think you will too if you read the guidebook. Today, he says the element of body is essential to well-being, and he knows it's not the only element that makes up his well-being. It's a holistic approach to wellness that's been the true path to lasting health for him. So thank you for joining me today to talk about a burnout buster and do a read aloud from Live Well, Dream Big. I look forward to connecting with you on our next episode and for another read aloud soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of Live Well, Dream Big. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation, and I want to invite you to take your next step toward living well and dreaming big by downloading the Live Well, Dream Big lifestyle book. It's the ultimate guide to becoming your best self and living life on your own terms. You can grab your complimentary copy by going to the link in the show notes or heading directly to iawpwellnesscoach.com/guide. That's iawpwellnesscoach.com/guide.